they must be guided by someone or some people, at least to have a direction. I want to give you maybe 3 scenarios. We are saying yes, Ruto must go. And this question which has been coming out for the last 1 week, what next after he's gone? Are we ready for Mr. Gachagua? We say no, we're not ready for him. What next? Are we giving the Speaker of the National Assembly the mandate to act as the president for the next 60 days? Do you know a situation whereby the president is not there, the deputy president is not there, where our country might find itself in? We must find a process of midwifing this stage to a point at the end of the day, we still have a country to support. The National Assembly, we are all under our Supreme Constitution. But remember, as at now, we don't have a functional IEBC. For we to have a functional IEBC, these people must be vetted and approved by the parliament. Suppose we say disband the members of the parliament, we don't want to have members of parliament as at now. Who will vet these people? Who will approve these people? Remember, our country has got enemies in and out. What if after the president and the deputy is out and we're in chaos, then some people find opportunities of even sneaking in weapons so that we can fight amongst ourselves, and that we'll hear people coming out like, now we as a tribe, we want our own country, and such like things. It is time to reason, not with emotions. It is time to agree that the Gen Zs and the millennium, we've made a tremendous progress. And what is now important is to ensure that we identify a few people who will guide us through. 10 million people cannot guide themselves without a leader. Because that's why you see everyone comes in one way or the other is being booed. You are a traitor, you do what? Because there's no one who is there to guide the people. It's a good movement, but until we have some people to guide the think tanks who will tell us now what we think after the president has gone, this is what the constitution provides. Let's deal with this one first, this one second, solution. Otherwise, everybody in this country wishes to have a greater country. Nobody is comfortable seeing what we are going through. But the truth is, we must have a mediation team who will help us think, strategize, and plan the way forward. Otherwise, we might overthrow the president. Yes, he might go with all the cabinet and the PSS and the members of parliament. Then what next? It's a delicate balance that must be midwifed in a proper way. Thank you very much, Mr. Kibe.
All right. Thank you, Nyadimo. Kadomi, are you here?
Yes, I am, Kibe. Thank you very much for this space and giving us an opportunity to put our heads together. And like all the speakers that have spoken, we are in a very delicate time, but we must appreciate that what the Gen Zs have managed to achieve since independence, this country has not achieved. We as the older people, we must take the blame of being comfortable with bad governance, corruption, and we were okay with it. Or maybe we were actually beneficiaries of inefficiency and bad governance. Now we're here, changes seem to happen. It's true, we are talking about Ruto must go. What's the way forward? The way forward, in my take, would not be people sort of appointed leadership. and I mentioned these things even in another forum that I was in. Is it possible to have tangible conversations lifted from social media to physical conversations, like a people's conference, like where people come together, sit and discuss the way forward, like a face-to-face conversation, like a bunge la mwananchi but expanded in a way, and every region is able to have this conversation, just like the counties. We are seeing the demonstrations hitting every part of the country, and when these demonstrations are happening, you realize, for example, like the Baringo people, they talked about the corruption in their county. They talked about the CECs, because every region has those unique problems. But on a national level, I accept we have to move forward, but how do we move forward? And right now, of course, there's a lot of clamor. Everyone wants the space. And there's nothing wrong if someone is anointed to be a leader, but also there's the risk of hijacking the entire process, and then we lose the benefits of this process. I wish, as the movement progresses, because already vijana walisema they don't want to go to State House, they don't want to go and have conversations, because they don't see any fruition that side of the conversations. But can we sit together? Can we go to KICC? Can we go to Huru? Can we go somewhere? Like, can we sit and what's the way forward? Yes, the IEBC bill has been signed. Is anyone discussing the time frame of having a working commission? Do we know what happens when? Where are the legal minds to carry us through that? When we say Ruto must go, let's assume he goes. Who is the caretaker of the presidency? How many months would it take to an election? Let's look at every scenario. I think people are in a situation whereby they do not still believe that anything can happen where we are right now. And yes, anything can happen. Every possibility needs to be looked into. But I agree, good spirit, good direction. We've raised all the issues that we've raised. We know that people have not been receiving their IDs, like in the last 6 months. People apply IDs, they don't get. We know the inefficiencies. We know the health sector is not working. We know what is happening with the Higher Education Board. We know even the guys who are supposed to report to the universities, some of them cannot report because they don't even have the IDs, they have waiting cards. But then, what's the way forward? What's the way forward? Because if you ask me, for the last 2 years, that is actually, this administration is not yet even 2 years. All this damage you're seeing until now is a damage of 1 year, 11 months. Next month is going to be the 2 years of this administration. I'm not saying the previous administration was any better, but I would say the previous administration was sort of good in putting their shit together. This one is completely not able to put their work together. We would accept legal minds coming together. We would accept more experienced people. I'm not talking about old people, experienced people in governance, in public administration, coming together and enlightening the youths. If you watch what I accept.
Put together statement. Yeah, I made a reference the other day. I said, Gen Z are like the electricity. That electricity is very powerful, but it has to be harnessed somewhere. It has to be put to good use. We must put sockets for it to make sense. Otherwise, electricity by itself is just dangerous. You even have to put like barriers. Don't go there. That electricity has not been harnessed. It's powerful, yes. You can do a lot with it, but as long as nobody has taken it and put it into proper use, then it means nothing. So yeah, thank you, Kadomi. That's a very nice way of putting it. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. We have the brains. We just need to have the up and go. Just the get up and go kind of thing. Tomboy, what do you want to say before we bring in Luvicia?
Well, thank you. I'm happy I'm speaking just after some concern has been raised, which I really, my submission will also be answering that. I agree that at this time we really need to be more organized, just as I had said. And I'm happy with the personality of Kibe because he's someone whose understanding of the African culture really will get in sync with the perception of the majority Gen Zs. The understanding of African spirituality. Let me stroke that to religion. And also, a person who can be able to bring us together as we purpose to organize ourselves should be someone with good integrity, a person of high emotional intelligence, someone who, even if you differ in opinion, they will still be there to listen to you without necessarily dropping their main vision. So I'm really supporting that. We need to get people on board. And I'm giving Kibe a deal, just as was suggested there. Pick it up. Go into inboxes of these people. They are as many as possible. You can have even over 100 people on board. And then we carry on the mantle. Like I talked of a handbook I wrote, we should consider maybe with the team, for example, that you can bring on board, you can come up with what we call a policy paper. After the policy paper will outline where are we coming from and where are we going. We are in agreement that we need a total overhaul of the system, all documented. A time reaches whereby we continue educating people on what is on the policy paper and we follow it with actions. At the end of the day, we will achieve something. I'm answering one question, then I drop. The question that you asked me, that are you really coming up with a shadow government? I want to answer that with what is the objective of our coming together, even if Mr. Kibe suggested that he can take up the mantle and lead us towards a particular direction. Our objectives are based on what I've really collected from very many different opinions that Kenyans have been sharing. Just running through it, I believe that we collectively and unanimously aim to exercise our sovereign power as articulated in the Constitution. I also believe that for us to achieve that, we need to continuously mobilize protesters and keep and so that we engage actively and respond to the need to protest. Then I also believe that we need to sustain the pressure to the political class so that the environment become hostile. At the end of the day, that can be a way that that can make them to understand really our language. We need to recall our members of parliament. So what next? Another objective.
Tom Boyer. So you see, all these objectives he's talking about are the ones that are supposed to be decided by this group of people who come together and say, okay, these are the 5, 6, 7 objectives that we have. And these are what we're going to be pushing for the month of August. Hold up, Tom Boyer. Fix your life fast, bro. Your network is horrible.
Wow. Well, I'm waiting.
All right, just mute your mic for a second, yeah. Your network doesn't seem to want to work today. I don't know what's good. Femi, start to close it up. Give me your final submission.
My final submission is one is actually
Femi, there's a button you press there. That, no. Go to voice. Yeah, go to the bottom. I mean, are you seeing where? Hey, how do we fix your life? You go to there's a button there that looks like fireworks. Press that button there, and then go to voice, and then fix that and come back. As we wait for me to fix that, Luvisia, go ahead.
Thank you, Kibe. So nimekuwa nikiusikiliza the previous speakers. Of course, yeah, they are really sharing the very good news and also trying to come up with ideas on how we can move forward. So ningependa address few things. The first one ni kwamba lazima to work on easy objective zenye tunaweza achieve within a certain time frame. For example, sasa tukipush we need to recall MPs, yet hatuna IBC in place. IBC inafaa ikuwe parliament and president wana participate kwa reconstitution kwa ya hiyo IBC, then it means hatujui kitu tunafanya. So I felt the first thing to recall, lazima mtafute signatures. Na wewe kama unakaa Nairobi, you don't vote for your hauko registered kwa certain constituency, uweze enda ukarecall that MP. It means now lazima kuwa a registered member kwa ile constituency. So there are a lot of things tunaweza fanya. So ukienda kwa mambo na recalling MPs, itafika 2027 still hiyo process itakuwa ime go through. So there are other things zenye now when we have a certain framework of operations, tutaangalia ideas ama zile suggestion everyone is bringing on board, we go through them, then tunaangalia zenye ziko achievable, unaona. Lakini tukikimbia tu bora idea imetokea and then we follow that, then tutafika mahali tunafika tunagonga ukuta, tunarudi huko tunagonga ukuta, zile zingine tumedrop, morali ya watu imeanza kushuka. Because ukiangalia how people now are behaving nowadays, utapata kwamba now people are chasing their personal interest. Unapata ile mambo ya kureject finance bill, everybody was on board. Automatically after 2 days ikafika Ruto must go. Ukapata watu wengine waka backseat, unaona, au kuingia kwa ile motion. So unapata ideas na keep on changing. Na sasa the more watu wengine wanakuwa kwamba hawako among the mobilize watu vizuri kuona kwamba hivi kitu tuna fight kina tusaidia sisi wote, then majority of people will start dropping, and that's how the political class is going to win. Ukiangalia the opposition on the other side hawako wanaingiana vizuri, but venye movement iliingia ulipata they joined together, they are right now in one basket, despite the fact ukiona kina Sifuna wana dance wakitoka huko wana dance, wanaanza kusema oh we don't want handshake, already ishafanyika. So wako tu huku nje to fake, but deep down they know what is happening. Ukiona kina Oparanya kina Joe wanaanza unakuwa na msuko mambo na handshake between the ODM and the rest, wanajua kwamba the next years watakuwa ndani. So inamaanisha kwamba now with us as the citizen we need to unite on ideas na tukua with pure motive. Umejua sasa the problem is kuna watu wana push Ruto must go, na wajui what will happen after that, na kuna wanasahau kwamba kuna watu walikuwa pro Ruto despite kwamba kuna limitation. So kuna watu wana fight corruption and other things that are happening in the government, they are not targeting people. Na kuna watu the rest wana fight people instead of fighting the institutions zenye na zile vitu zinafanyika institutions. So from that point unapata kwamba we are not moving on the same lane. So it means we need a framework of operations whereby people have to analyze the required like you analyze what we are going for, then we move as a unit and we make sure that whatever we are going for benefit everyone. For example, mtu amention mambo na IDs. For sure, hii mambo ya kusema ID na expire, unalipia almost 1,000 kupata a new to renew kama umepoteza. Those are things everyone affects everyone. So if you go for that, then 2 days itakuwa tumeachieve, watatupilia hizo vitu mbali. Then you move into the next thing. Move on to the next thing. So before tufika ile ya now the Ruto must go, then tutakuwa tumeachieve a lot of things before tufika to that step. So I just call upon Gen Z to sit down and try to listen and go for things that can be achievable within a certain time frame, na zenye zinakuwa logic. Because vitu zingine unapata mtu anashare pako unashtuka what does the constitution say about this? Then lastly, we issue now hiyo kuna good
Lovisia, we're losing you, man.
sorry, am I there?
Ambia wao mademo acha kupigia simu bro. Ambia uko serious saa hii. You're busy building the nation.
Nimekata hiyo nini yao, simu yao.
Basi malizia.
Okay. So nilikuwa namalizia na kusema kwamba kuna watu saa hii among the Gen Z kazi yao ni kuiba. Hata saa hii tutadanganya tu ni goons, nini. They are among us. Motive yao ni kuibia watu, which is not good, because ukienda kuiba supermarket, kuna Gen Z wenye walikuwa employed kwa hiyo supermarket. You see a politician, huyo mtu ataenda chini hivyo, hatapata pesa ya kuanzisha tena. You have killed the dreams of many people kwa kuiba pale. So within us, as long as tuna demonstrate, but pia tukue na tukiona watu wanaanza destroy other people's properties, we have to take care of them. Ndio hii movement iendelee, lakini kitafika mahali we create enemies within ourselves. Kwa mfano utapata sasa watu wanaanza protect their businesses, certain section wanaanza kusema sisi hatutaki because of destruction and other things. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity, Kibe.
Thank you, Lovisia. You know what happens? The problem we are having right now is this prolonged fight. A fight should not last that long. So this prolonged fight brings a lot of fatigue. So unasikia umechoka because una fight the same thing over and over again. Hizi ni vitu tungefaa kufanya na wiki moja na ishe na to move on. Na sasa mwenye ameshinda, mwenye lose. Nothing KE, what do you have to say? Thank you, Lovisia.
Hi, Kibe. Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to condole with the families of those we have lost and the injured, and I pray that we do not forget them. Now, allow me to address a couple of issues. I think we are focusing on what's happening in the country, and we are not addressing who is behind, who's pulling the string on the things that we are experiencing as a nation. I'm going to drop a link for you guys to watch a documentary narrated by former IMF and World Bank chiefs and an economic assassin, saying how they interfere with other countries. And when you watch that, then we should turn our guns to like embassy. We put pressure on them so that IMF can back down. On the issue of we need to have a bigger meeting, I don't think it's conceivable right now. It will require resources. I think technology has evolved to allow us to have this kind of engagement. And so if we're going to have a meeting, that meeting can happen and people can join in from across the world. Another thing I've noticed is that sometimes we give opportunity, because I've listened to a lot of spaces, we give opportunity to probably people who are already known, and you're already missing ideas on people you've never heard their names before. You don't know where they're coming from, but they hold a puzzle on where we need to go. So I would request, when you hold the spaces, if you can kindly, fairly give an opportunity to people you don't know. And then something else. Gen Zs are very vibrant, they are driven, and they have ideas. They just don't have, and they have the staying power. They just don't have the time to engage in a conversation that's heading nowhere. It's very clear in their mind what they want. I'm a student at USIU, and they've been fundraising. They're very vocal on what they want and what we
Are you a Gen Z?
Myself, yes. So, like you've seen, my handle is called Nothing KE. It's actually a company I registered called Nothing Life Nation. Because when you ask a lot of people, what are you doing? They'll tell you nothing. And I said, we need to turn this nothing into something. I've written to embassies. That's how come I realized, by the way, we are on our own. A lot of people are not here to help us. They're here to benefit themselves. Then there's the other issue of the constitution. I don't know why people keep defending the constitution. Again, I'll drop a link for you to watch what Magufuli explained about how this constitution, we only understand the human right aspect of it, but we do not know that they actually use the same constitution to control the continent. And this was said because this is with itself. And I don't want to dwell on that because I want to address something that was highlighted and we've been discussing about IEBC. It's alleged, and I need the lawyers to come through for us by explaining whether these are factual, that part of what we are going to use our polling station are movable vehicles. And I think that is very dangerous. So we need to hone into that, figure out, is this true on what was signed? And if indeed it's true, we need first to reverse that. On the issue of civil education, we need to ensure that people do not sit back and continue making
wait. Nothing. Nothing. Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to the whole community because this is a collective issue. It's no longer about one person. So we are always as strong as our weakest.
You see what I'm trying to avoid, and this has been my whole crusade is for us just to talk into the darkness where there's no one who's listening, no one who's doing anything about it, because everyone is going to come here with ideas, and everybody wants something changed. Some people want IEBC, others want City Hall, the counties changed. Everybody wants something. So what I don't want is us to get, caught up in the also, making those demands that you're not making those demands to me. You get? So who's taking responsibility of the demands that we are all making? It's too much. I'm so fatigued of hearing all these things that need to be changed. While I'm looking for people to change them with, I'm like, hey, who wants to change this shit up with me? Who's that person who's going to take up the mantle and let's go and change this shit up? I don't want to hear about what needs to be changed. I want someone who's passionate enough about whatever it is they're talking about and they're willing to die for it. Then now we can have this changed. These are the people I want around here. Because for the people who want to come and give us instructions, I have no business with those people. Because I don't want to be given instructions by anyone. I also have my own mandate. I also have things that I want to do for myself. So, nothing KE. I get where you're coming from. Let's put action behind your words. Now, go out of your own body and give us action behind what you're saying. How does that look like?
Okay, first of all, I think you're doing a good job hosting the spaces. What we need to do, first of all, is the civil education. People need to collect ideas that have not been collected. Number two, we need to agitate for this issue of we are Kenyans by birth, even if it's by naturalization. Nobody should ever pay for an ID, whether you lost it or not. That is your birthright. So we need to agitate for such things. We need also to address on the issue of this IEBC. Is it true? And we have a lawyer here. Is it true that there's a clause that says that some of the polling station will be movable vessel? If it is, we need clause changed when we still have the time. Then there's this issue of people are afraid of change. Everybody is just scared that, if something changes, this country is going to plunge. I don't think it is true. We have structures in place. In case something happens, the deputy president can take over for 90 days. But we are hoping for the right thing to happen, that they can decide, you know what, Kenya is bigger than all of us. And so we're going to resign as a government. We have seen Gen Z, when they're not, when there's no police brutality, they're fairly peaceful. So this assumption, this fear of, I know it has happened to other countries, but this paralyzing fear that, if this government vacate, we are going to go into war. I think we need to believe in ourselves as Kenyans. We just want what is right for our nation. We're not looking to destroy this nation. We're not looking to run away. We have nowhere to run away. Countries around us have fought, and majority of those people are here. So first, get past the fear that actually this country can plunge into chaos. It's a possibility, but I don't think so. I think by now, even if we have internal and external enemy, I think by now people have realized, by the way, Kenyans are not people you can mess around with. We're here to stand up for ourselves. We are saying no to the big boys who control the world. On an issue of leadership, I think it is very volatile right now to pick leaders. I think it's powerful as a leaderless movement for a myriad of reasons. Then there were people who started, the people who went with the 7 days of rage, the 7 days of justice. Those were the people who were carrying the mandate. Those are the people who were leading. Because from where it is, there's a bit of fragmentation, but then the result is still the same. We need change for our nation. I thank you for your time, and I hope we can agree on something. We continue just exploring what is available, what are the options available, and I'm sure we'll do the right thing for the nation, I think. And I yield my time. Thanks, Kibe.
Thank you. Nothing, KE. Appreciate that. Thank you for coming through. Gadomi, do you want to have your final submission?
Thank you, Kibe. A quick one. I know we have great minds on this forum, and I just want to carry people through a quick thought process. We are complaining about a lot of things. We have institutions in this country, but our institution essentially take commands from politicians. A president is a politician. The CSs are politicians. The PSs are appointees of politicians. What would be wrong if we have, let's for example talk about the EACC. Who heads the EACC? If that kind of a person is brought to book, and the EACC people would tell us, why is the EACC not working? If we would bring the person who heads registration in the country, and they tell us why people don't have IDs. These are existing institutions. Let's not talk about parliament, because it's like we've lost faith in our politicians. Let's look at institutions, direct institutions. These are people, experts employed by the government, paid to run institutions. Could we go on those institutions? Let's talk about the police. Most of the time, and what we know in this country, police, they take commands from politicians, or I would say a political hierarchy. But a police and its entire leadership is professional, trained policemen. Could this police talk to the people, delinking themselves from their political appointees, and tell us why they are shooting people, yet the constitution does not allow them to do so? So actually our disconnect in this country is institutions established to serve the people do not serve the people, they serve the political class. All this anger you see from the Gen Zs is because every institution serves the political class and not the common man. When we start looking at these things on that line, we know this is not working. This is not working. For example, the fake fertilizer. All the heat went to the to the PS or the CS. But there are institutions that are established, Bureau of Statistics, Bureau of Standards, to check these things. Were these institutions working? But as I say again, and as I wind up, all the institutions in this country, Kibe, do not work for the people. They work for the political class. The Kenyans, and the voice of the Kenyans right now is the Gen Zs. We've completely lost any trust with the political class. By the way, it's the entire political class. Because right now, we don't even want to hear about the Azimio, because they're in bed right now with the administration that you're complaining about. Can we have these institutions put to book and accountable for the failures that we see? If passports cannot come from Nyayo House, who is in charge? Who is employed to do this job without linking them to the politics of the country? Thank you.
All right, Gadomi, $1 million question. The $1 million question, because all we are saying and all what you're saying Is you want a group of people that you can trust who can fix this problem for you. You want the A-team. That's what you want. That's what you need. You need people who can shake things up enough for the system to start working again. You need an A-team, a team that will go in there and fix the problem that you have been unable to fix. If it is executions, you go take the corrupt people, execute them if you need to execute them. So you need an A-team. You need to become like a communist, like China, with the way China became communist. To hell with everything else. You're going to become communist. Everything is going to pass through the Gava. You fuck up. This is how we deal with you. So that the population can have a chance. Right now, Kenya does not stand a chance. You don't stand a chance as an entrepreneur. How? Whatever idea you have, somebody is just going to go pick from the bucket of money that is Kenyan taxpayers' money and come and open a business right next to yours, 10 times the size of yours. How do you stand a chance? How do you stand a chance to even do business, even for tendering? How do you stand a chance to even work with the government, even the county government? If everybody in the county government is corrupt, there must be so much fear in corruption. People must be afraid of that word corruption so much that the playing field is fair for everyone. So what you need is an A-team. If George was here, we would call it the G squad. Would you need a G squad, an A-team, someone people who are willing to come and fix the problem for you? Tukiangalia tuseme, hey, 21 ministries are too many. For what? This country only needs 5. You reduce that number to 5. You say, hey, we don't need to have nominated anybody and too many constituencies. Bro, that A-team is what you want, but you cannot get it because the system cannot allow you to have that. As I told you, if hii kitu is simple, either muingie kwa system ama mucreate system yenyu. Simple, hakuna njia ingine. Na kama nataka kuingia kwa system, haya, you need to organize yourself in one clean file, come up with party policies and party positions, go into the election bigly. Do not delude yourself. If that's what you want, if you want power, you better go for power through the ballot. If you're not going for power through the ballot, then look at the other way of going for power. Simple. But don't delude yourself like there isn't any other way you're going to get this power. Never. Humphrey, what do you want to say?
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfectly. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm driving, but I'll just say this. For me, as a techie, I think we all have problems, and the only issue is that we don't have a centralized place where we can put all our problems there. Then we vote on them. Like we say, okay, we have a problem with the ABC. This is a short-term problem. We have a bigger problem of Ruto must go. This is the long-term problem. But before we reach there, we have the small wins that we need to plan on how to achieve. And given that you, Kibe, you have a space, I can give you one advice. All the guys, influencers who have big spaces, they have an opportunity. Every time you have a space, I can even show you the technology. You can take your audio, put it on an AI application. It will extract a summary of all the issues that were discussed. If you go to Kimuzi's space, you can do the same. Then we gather that summary, we put it in a website, then we put it on a vote. We decide which is the most burning issue, we attack it. Lastly, I would like to say that, like yesterday, I went to buy something in a chemist. Then a lady was there talking about, sasa vijana wanataka nini? People don't know why people are fighting. We need to have an agenda. If it's the IBC, if it's the IDs, let's conquer one by one. Things people can relate to. Instead of just saying accountability. We are fighting for accountability. People in the ground don't know about that. They're just, nataka chakula yake ya jioni. But we need to have a way of portraying our problems to the other community players. like our mothers, the border guy, even the border guys are looking at us and wondering, watu wanapigania nini? But if we tell them, hii mwezi tunapigania IDs, atupewe ID, that is something that can drive. It's one thing we are fighting for. We drive it, and it's a small win as we proceed to the Ruto must go. But just to summarize, if you're willing, I can show you how to convert your Twitter space to a summary. So after every Twitter space, you can summarize the issues. Then from there, we can create a site. I'm a techie, I can do that. We can create a site like the Black movement thing. The US have that movement for the Black movement or history thing. They were fighting for the Black rights. They have movements. They have sites for their movements. From there, we can come up with the policies, our plans on what do we need to do now, what do we need to do for the future, so that everyone is in sync. If I'm pretty sure if you go to Baringo and ask a Gen Z, what are you fighting for? They're fighting for a different thing. Myself, I'd like the coffee industry to be streamlined. Everyone has a problem, but we need to have a centralized location where we put our problems there. We come up with the document, we print it, and we do whatever we want to do with it. I think for me, we need action, and I'll just challenge you, Kibe. If you're interested, I'll show you how to convert all your Twitter spaces to something tangible, like a document. Then from there, share with the other teams, come up with a platform where people now can even vote on the issues on Twitter. Like, hey, this is what people are saying. Can we say we are going to do this and this? People say yes. Easy stuff. Like yesterday, I think yesterday it was a win for me, if you ask me. But now I think the government has played their chess moves. Now we need to organize ourselves. But then again, there's a lot of emotions. I've seen guys plan to occupy Uhuru Park. For me, I thought it was emotional. What do you call it? Some emotional people made that decision. It is not all the Gen Zs who made that decision. So that again is a loss. How are we making decisions? Should we be putting it somewhere? People vote. Hey, what's the next move? We vote. Because the moment you make a decision, like some people somewhere just make a decision, then they think that is the Gen Z decision, then we are wrong. We are lost. So for me, it's just to summarize, let's have a centralized place where we can put our thoughts. Then from that, we come up with a plan. Even a house, you need a plan. Whatever we want, Ruto must go. We need a plan. At this point, we need plans. Now, for me, I would like to just say, in that plan, we'll also have strategies in the plan somewhere centralized, so that even someone in Nyeri will go to that site and say, hey, this is what we are fighting for. They get energized. They see things. I know a lady there who was talking about the IDs. I've been listening to her for some time, and how the election was stolen. Things like that. People need to know. The information needs to be posted somewhere, and I think I'm willing to do it, actually. But for you, Kibe, I'd like to give you this idea. You summarize your space. I can give you the idea, so that we have somewhere we can collaborate on similar ideas and vote for them. I think that's all.
All right. Thank you, Humphrey, for that suggestion. Yeah, I am looking for people who are going to do. If you're a doer, bro, by all means, let's implement any new ideas, any new technologies. Any new ideas, any new technologies, as long as you are the one who is taking charge. You say, Humphrey, I am taking charge of this, and I'm going to make sure that consistently and dedicatedly, I'm going to do this. If you can take that, then we're good. Are you willing to take that responsibility, Humphrey?
Yeah, actually, for me, I'm planning to come up with a site. The site is all about the movement, our plans.
No. I get what you're saying. I'm just saying it has to be somebody who takes it up. Whatever it is we decide, If you are the one who's taking up the idea, take up the idea, let's implement it. So that now, once we are done with this, and if you've done a good job, then the next time you get a bigger job. You're the one who's going to lead this. Yeah. So take it up upon yourself, Humphrey, because you have a good idea and you're in tech. So you come up, summarize summarize whatever it is everybody is saying on all spaces. We put that in one portal, and then it's easy. We can vote on anything. It will take us seconds to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, Estonia have been doing this for the longest time. You know that.
Yeah, actually, there's one thing I saw Kimuzi doing. Even you have seen you do it. They after a Twitter space, he asked the Gen Z, the millennials, what shall we do? What next? People voted, and that was the way. But now, due to emotions, we are not doing it right. And also, I'd like to tell the team, we need to do research on leaderless movements where they failed. Just go to ChatGPT, learn how they failed, and learn how the governments were able to eradicate them. Learn their successes. I know we are leaderless, but at some point, I've heard you keep talking about super players or something. Can't remember the word, but we will need strategic planners at some point. Who like now they obviously they can be faceless, but the ones who play the big part. Per se, you are one of them and you don't know. Like I'm saying, after each space, try to summarize and share to the group as a PDF. Then you see it will just grow. The ideas will just grow, because for me, people just come to the spaces, they talk, then they go. It's over. It's done. People have great ideas. I've been listening to all these spaces. I'm learning a lot, but we really need to come up with a centralized thing, and recordings that are summarized using AI. I'll send you a link if you're interested, so that every time you just put your space there, it summarizes everything. All those ideas are not lost, because I think the ideas are all lost. And secondly, a way to vote, like you in your Twitter space, just you'll get 3 burning issues. Ask people, what is this? What are you going to do about this? You'll just get a feeling. Many people want the IDs. Many people want IBC. Such a thing. About the IBC thing, I'm not a lawyer, but I know once we have a centralized thing, we can challenge the lawyers to come up with their proposals. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Humphrey.
I'm done.
Saken, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Now, first of all, thank you very much for the space and for the opportunity. I would also want to register my deepest condolences to the family families and relatives of the heroes and heroines that we lost through the demonstrations and the butchering that we saw in Mukuru kwa Jenga. Now, to the topic of the day. I have been listening to great speakers in here, and I have a feeling that there is a small bit in which we are missing out on what should be the next course of action for us. If you look at world over, the revolution that we've had, because now it's okay calling this a revolution. Most of them, and especially those that have been successful, they have either taken a definite route or they have been as leaderless as this is. I think that we have 2 routes to take with our demonstrations. The first route is either we go the constitutional way. The second is we going the revolution way, in which we are going to say the constitution is here to serve us and not us serving the constitution. So if it is not working, especially the way we have seen it not working in the political class, we will be on the streets until every grievance that we have, especially having these people out of the office, is achieved. But if we also decided to go on the constitution, I feel like at this point, we are being too much ahead of time. We need to decide on which route we are taking first. Because if we were to say that we are going the constitutional way, in which we want or demand the president to vacate the office, Constitution says the next person in line is the deputy president. If we want the whole presidency out, we are going to the speaker. We will move down there until we get to a point in which it is not about the people. So we need to agree, first of all, right now, before we get to who should lead what, we need to agree on the route we are taking. I think that is what is lacking. If we go, like for me, if we go the constitutional way, the number one thing that we should be advocating for right now and beyond is institutionalization of our systems. We do not have systems that work. Like other speakers have said, we need to grow our institutions so that, like it happens in every other developed country, we run our country on institutions. We do not run them on individuals. Like saying that we need to get this right person in this given docket for us to have changes. Sometimes I feel like this is not the best way to go because it has failed. It's situations where, even if you look at Singapore anywhere, situations where we've had even a one-man vision changing the whole spectrum about the leadership or governance of a given country, eventually they have decided and they have been deliberate in growing their institutions. So if we have to decide today that we are going for the constitutional way, we have to make deliberate efforts in growing our institutions, because then if we say today that Ruto goes home as the president, Gachagua comes in, and I think a majority of Kenyans have a feeling that in terms of competency and meritocracy, and even from the talks that we have had with him, moving from Ruto to Gachagua is moving from the worst to the worst. I mean, it's more, there is no distinction between the two. So then it means that we have to all agree that before we start talking about the leadership of this these demonstrations, we need to agree on what we are doing. And again, at this point, Kibe, I'm sorry to say this, but I heard you saying that we are moving like we do not know where we are going. We are at a point in which we have to move without them knowing who is actually leading this. If we were to appoint anyone today, you're not going to have definite roles, because let us say that we can come out with a given agenda, vote for it, and say, push this agenda as Kibe. Who are you going to push it to? Because eventually you will go to some ministry. If they elect, they appoint CSS again, you will walk into a given ministry. If it is an issue of ID, you will go there. What if they don't do what you want? We are going to go back to the streets or what? Because if we send you as a leader, you are going to be there with just a few people, not all of us. So we need to agree that what is it that can work for us. I believe that we need, these people don't understand our language. They don't understand what we want. So there is a need for us to continue pushing. If you look at the kind of sponsoring that they're doing today, there are some there are some demonstrators in Eldoret saying that they want Murkomen reappointed, and there is another sponsored poll saying that a majority of Kenyans want all these listed CSs reappointed. If you look at it, these are just sponsoring, and it only shows that these people have not understood what we want. They understand why all these demonstrations are there, and they think there's going to be some dialogue and some sponsorship, and then we'll eventually go back home. If we make a mistake of going back home today and saying we are tired, these deaths, all these killings, all these days of property destruction will be going into waste, because we shall have achieved nothing. We cannot afford now to go back home. We cannot afford to stop. We have to agree on a clear agenda. And like I said, it is between going full board with the demonstrations and saying this is a revolution, everyone is going home, we are starting afresh. Or we are going the constitutional way and saying we are going to build capacity in all our institutions like it is stated in the constitution. If you come to something like corruption that we have, the constitution is very clear. We actually don't even need more laws on things like corruption and the problems we have in most of these ministries. The constitution is very clear on a lot of things. If it is chapter 6, it states very clearly. Even Ruto, when he was appointing his CSS, he knew very clearly that on individuals like Linturi, because they have had cases of corruption before. But I'm doing it because I know the population will do nothing. The voters will do nothing. It will be a parliamentary thing. I get a few members of parliament, bribe them, get to my way. If we go back, these are the same things we are going back to. We do not need any kind of leadership right now. All we need is a direction. That direction is between a choice of the two. Growing in an event that we agreed to grow the institutions. That is probably the only point we'll say we need some leaders, but we are not going to achieve anything. We have tried all these for the longest, it is more than 50 years of trying to build our institution. It is not, we changed the constitution to do the same. This is primarily, we changed the constitution to build on our institution. That is the only reason why we got that constitution, because we did not want to rely on individuals to govern or to lead us. We wanted to rely on institutions. From 2010 to date, nothing has been achieved, nothing. The only working part of constitution from what we changed is the part in which we have the presidency being the president and the deputy, so that he cannot be, that is the only thing that is working. The rest of the things are not working. So I'm afraid if we were to decide today that we were to go the constitutional way, we are not going to achieve anything. It will be the same political class doing the same thing. The other day we had a problem with them flaunting money and going to Arambes, giving 20 million there. The next day, what will they do? They will say, let us avoid all this public show and coil and get all these monies for ourselves, because this is the only thing that angers them. What are we going to do? We need to agree that we are not going to achieve anything by electing any kind of leadership to this group. If you look at the way, I don't know why we are saying that we don't have leaders. If you look at the way these demonstrations are organized, there is a leadership in place. The only thing, and we do not have a problem, I think if we were to get to a point in which we need leaders, it will not take us even 1 hour to know. People, we know your capacity. If we're to say tomorrow that we've gotten to a place we want, so we want leaders, we'll just come and say, Kibe, go do this. What is the problem with that? We don't have shortage of that. But we need these people first to understand where we are coming from and where we are going.
No. Ken, I've listened to you long enough to know that now you're repeating yourself. And what I'm trying to avoid here is this talk that is idealistic, because idealistic, everybody has a good idea. Everybody can tell us exactly how things should be, which is what you're doing. You're telling us exactly how things should be. Things should be like this, but that's not how things are. How things are is that today you need people to do things for you, whether you like it or not. That's how things are. You need someone to push their agenda. Bro, you hire somebody because you want them to do the job that you could do, but you do not have time to do it, or you don't have the interest, or for whatever reason, then you hire that person to do it. Or they can do it better than you. Or this is their profession. This is what they do. That's why it's very important to get the right people in the office, which is what I'm seeing you guys are afraid of. Because as long as you are afraid of that, and then you backpedal and come and say, but we already have leaders. And I'm like, yeah, you already have leaders, but if you don't put your weight behind those leaders, then your leaders are vulnerable and your leaders are ineffective, because they cannot make any laws now. They cannot give instructions to you. Because if your leader is going every time now, let's take for example, who am I talking to? Sir Ken.
Yes.
Sir Ken, are you there?
I'm here.
Let's take for example, Guaido is one of your leaders.
Yes.
Now, Guaido today, he's being the DCI is looking for him. He's had to come up. He's had to put out a statement saying, at this and this time, I will be reporting to the DCI office. You get. So, Guaido, one of your leaders, the DCI are looking for him. Where is the movement? Are you seeing? There needs to be somebody who their work is to focus on the movement. Their movement is their 24-hour-a-day job. As long as mnaogopa hiyo, then the movement will not be as effective as it should be. Now ndio wase sasa mnafaa kwa mnatafuta. So saa hii mnafaa full time. Every step of the way, you should be looking for that person the way Manchester United is looking for a striker. Hey, they cannot, bro, every time they hear there's a match somewhere, they go there. Hey, let's go see. There might be a new striker that we need. It's as important as the movement.
You know, Kibe, if you're done, if we say today that we are going to select or appoint given individuals in different positions, I can tell you for a fact that the government will reach out to these people and they will try everything they can to co-opt them into their system. So every other day, because we have had all these things, Kibe, we've had leaders leading given sectors that are actually against the government. I agree with you that we need some kind of direction in everything that we are doing. But if you ask me today, we have not gotten to a point in which even those people will be understood. We are still at a point where these people will either be co-opted or they will be arrested and they will be harassed every day.
Let me tell you. Let me be very honest with you where I was going with this. Okay, Sir Ken.
Yes.
So I have. For me, I'm coming from a very selfish point of view. I want to be part of the people who make sure that the systems are in place. Okay, that's all I want.
Yes.
Okay, me, I want to be the guy who is responsible for the system that will be used for the next 100 years. That guy. So I don't want to be the guy who's going to be telling people what to do. No, that's not the part that I want to play. Because I know when it comes to when we want MPs, we shall get MPs from wherever they are supposed to come from. You're not going to come from your place to go be an MP for other people. You're going to be an MP exactly where you want to be. If you want to be a senator, you're going to be a senator exactly where you should be. So that leadership is not the problem. Are you understanding what I'm saying?
I get you, Kibe, but now if
that leadership is not even in consideration because it will pop up when it's time for it to pop up.
Let me, if you allow me, let me ask you a question. Huh? If we were to have a leadership today for this uprising, what docket will we have people representing us, and how are they going to grow our institutions? What is the how would they
so now let's break it down, because I think we're trying to handle a very big problem in a very simplistic way. Okay, so right now what you need, what we need is a group of people who are not leaders, who are like the ones who are like you give them the decisions to make. You understand? For a transitional time, so that they can create the system that needs to be created right now. So the issues that you guys want dealt with are not going to be dealt with by this group. This group is just creating the system that the people who deal with issues are going to be able to attach themselves to. That system is as important as anything else. You get? Because that's the incorruptible system that Gen Z should be building for themselves. But now that system can one day replace this old archaic system that Ruto is operating on. Are you seeing the difference in what we're saying? So for me, my leadership is not really a consideration. I don't want a million people to scream my name. No, me, I want the system that is going to be used to govern. That is a very important system. And those are the people who are very important right now. Those are the people who are going to help in the transition. So these are not going to be your leaders that are telling you what to do. No. Those ones you shall get for yourselves. You shall be able to approve for those ones yourselves. You get what I'm saying, Sir Ken?
I am really trying so much to get you, but I don't understand how just so that I end my submission. You know, the issue that we have is if we were to grow, like growing institution means we are going the constitutional way. If we were to do that, then we need people in different positions in which they can influence these changes that we are advocating for. Alternatively, if I am getting you correctly, we have leaders today in which if someone is arrested, they go there, like what the president of LSK is doing today. She goes to those courts or the cells and represent our agenda there. We can have that. I don't have a problem with that. But I think even as we have those kind of individuals, we need to push even further so that we also protect these same individuals. Because it will get to a point in which people get tired of coming and showing up physically. As a leader, you are arrested, and then you have to bear the burden of what we collectively threw you into as an individual. So it means we have to finya our watu kwanza vizuri sana, in which even if we have those kind of leadership, you are also protected. If you walk into a given office, they understand and they know that Kibe has 1 million people behind him and this has to be done, or else the next day we are going to have atujafika hiyo level. We need to keep doing this. That is my point.
Na sasa hiyo level ndio mnafahamu fike, ndio before washike mtu wenyu wanafaa wa consider, because it's like one person going into another person's territory. Unakama unachukua mtu wetu aje. Do you guys know there's a time Raila Odinga was deemed unarrestable? Una arrest Raila Amolo Odinga. Which policeman was going to arrest Raila Amolo Odinga? Which policeman was going to have that photo taken of him arresting Raila Amolo Odinga? Mnacheza nini? Movement lazima isukwe. Thank you, Sir Ken. Appreciate that. Is there anybody else I've not brought today? I can give you a chance to give me your final submissions. All right, who's this? Resk, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Kibe. I agree with your point that they need to come up with a system if they don't want leadership. But as things go, they don't need a system or leadership, because the system will capture that system. Because you have heard about treason charges that have been given to leaders. It is because the movement is known, their leaders are known, the system is known. Currently, it's a headless movement, but it's achieving more than what probably could Odinga and the fellow failed to achieve when they were on the ground. Because right now, the cabinet has been dissolved, and the bill has not been passed, but there is no system. It means that subtle system is good. So it will come at a point whereby they need to come up with a system when the government has already accepted that we won't abduct, we won't arrest them. So at the moment, it's okay. And what you also have to understand at the moment is that this movement should be taught, this Gen Z, that having a movement like this is a sacrifice. Most of these people, they won't end up in leadership. Some of them, they won't even end up working for the government, but it's a sacrifice for the people. So what they need to do is for them to enact in the constitution all their grievances. Because tomorrow they are going to cry. Even this Odinga whom they are attacking today, they stand one by one in election, they will lose, because this movement has no structures. They don't know the underground roots of politics. So what we are telling this movement is that your only achievement, like what Kibe is saying, to come up with your system, you change the constitution, because you are not going to enjoy this. Some of you won't reach Canaan. That is why some of your people died in the struggle, because that is the nature of this regime. You will suffer for people. It's only those people who are gallant enough who are able to say, I will die for this. So let it be known that change the constitution for the betterment of everyone. Because even if tomorrow you say let's go for rerun, or the president is going to dissolve the call for a next election, they will lose if they stand one by these other people who are on the ground. And finally, this movement should also know that there are people who are hijacking them, like Miguna and the other people. They are trying to say the opposition should go so that they can also take over. They don't have the movement at heart. But as things are going, it's okay. Don't form the system now. Time for the system is going to come. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Resk. JB, are you there?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for another opportunity. And thank you so much, Sir Ken. I think I really agree with most of the things that Sir Ken just talked about. I was looking during the day today. I was looking at what kind of revolutions succeed and which ones fail. And I saw an example of Egyptian revolution. What was it in 2009, somewhere around there, and how that revolution was able to succeed. And then I looked at another revolution that didn't succeed in China in 1989, when people were tired with Chinese were tired with the communism party, and why that revolution failed. And there were quite a number of things that were very clear, which I want to share with this forum tonight. So for the Egyptian revolution, the success of that revolution was facilitated, or rather, it was possible because it was involving every Egyptian was in it, the way Kenyans are for a change in our country. So everyone, doctors, professors in universities, nurses, civil servants, Egyptians were tired with, was it Hosni Mubarak? And they joined hands together and they rejected and they demanded for a change. How do they do this? They had people who volunteered, as you suggested, Sir Ken, and I think, Mr. Kibe, you also talked about that. People who volunteered to leadership positions, not specifically being called leaders, but they volunteered themselves to roles, without necessarily calling someone or one person a leader. But people volunteered to occupy certain roles. Some people were coordinators, some were committees, were in various committees, some were volunteers to distribute food or to contribute food. So every Egyptian played a role in that revolution. Revolutions that have failed have had the opposite. It was a movement by a certain group of people. It could be somewhat trade unionists who are tired of poor wages and bad governance. And because that revolution was singled out as belonging to a certain group, it did not have ownership of the Iranian people or the Chinese people. So over time, it disintegrated to nothing. And governments are strong because they used the propaganda machine to destroy a movement like the one we have at the moment. Infiltrating, bribing, the tactics that governments have used, including intimidation, arresting, like the way they're doing now. It is part of the propaganda to make people, to tire people, to make people feel like we are not going anywhere. So what will make a difference in a revolution is that commitment. Let's not call this, it was started by GNCs, but this is now a Kenyan revolution. And the Kenyan revolution means every Kenyan is in it. So how do we then, or how do we, I don't know what, I don't want to call the word recruit because Kenyans are already in it. But how do we make sure that they are in support so that when there are demonstrations, they are attending them? And I think I spoke yesterday, I don't know whether it was this forum, and I spoke about being really specific, like when it was the financial bill, it was successful. Why? There was a particular goal, and it was popularized that this is what we are rejecting. And everyone joined in. And that is why people, it brought President Ruto down, and he rejected the bill, and he dissolved his cabinet. So that momentum should continue. And for that momentum to continue, we have to be very specific with what we are asking for. Because if it becomes an amorphous body, the probability that it will disintegrate because government will put too much propaganda, the way it is doing now, that demonstrators are here to destroy property. That is propaganda. And that is what exactly happened when Azimio team were demonstrating in 2023 and early 2023. It died down because the movement was given a name of destroyers of property. People were arrested, intimidated, and they were called destroyers of property. Have you ever wondered why policemen are there to chase demonstrators, to shoot demonstrators, to spray demonstrators with water and gas, but yet they cannot guard the property and leave demonstrators demonstrate in peace? Because this is a right that is entrenched in the Constitution. But I don't even want to talk about what is in the Constitution, because this government or governments in Kenya have nobody respects the Constitution in the government. They do. Anarchy prevails. It's like there's no Constitution. They put this Constitution in a cupboard and they operate from a rule book from the Moi regime, from the dictatorship of 1980s. So they will never, adhere to the rule of law, because
Chabi, I need you to land that plane.
Okay, yeah, I will. So what I was saying is, when we talk about how we go forward, because that is where I was heading. I was saying we have to have those plans that this week we have an agenda, a goal that, for example, if we want parliament to resign, parliamentarians to resign, that becomes a goal until it's achieved. And then we move to the next goal. And this goal has to be popularized the way we popularized the rejection of the bill, the finance bill. So if we go that way, we should be able to, achieve what we are intending to achieve in this revolution, and at the same time, push one time, one thing at a time, as we also get more people to join in. Because the way it is now, people are losing the energy. So we need a goal. We need goals. Every week, and then when we achieve one goal, we move to the next. One goal, we move to the next as we keep forward. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. Ombogo, are you there?
Yeah. So, number one, I will remind you, when you there was a time you did a space asking us maybe to choose or to suggest names of leaders. Then you were to do another space at 8 with all the leaders. So during the first space, there's something you said, that if we are going to choose our leaders, or the guys that you are going to choose, we have to protect them and assure them that they are carrying the best interest of we, the Genesis or the youth. And you have given a practical example here where you say that Raila was at one time, and I think even now, unarrestable. Like, where's Muguza Walai? You know, Muguza, like the whole country, I don't know, those who support or the support base, okay, Kukujia. And that's what these guys, let me give just an example of like Mark or Samuel, Mercy, and the other person, like they come off as our leaders. Like when ukiongeza kusema kama ndio wanaongoza wase, but they can't pronounce that or have the confidence to say that because wanajua tu wakisema hivi, there's a faction that's going to attack them na itawakujia na ubaya sana. Alafu hiyo faction ikikuja ku attack, there's other faction that was maybe on their side ama walikuwa wameamua hasa watuongoze, will now again wataingiza uoga and withdraw. So the guys will remain naked, they will be attacked, and all manner of insults will be thrown at them. So if we are to choose people to represent us, we have to make a commitment. Sisi tukisikia wameshikwa, sisi wote tunaenda pale DCI. Tukisikia sasa wamefanyiwa kitu, sisi wote tunaenda police station. But unfortunately wakishikwa, tutasahau now, then itabidi wamebaki kubeba mzigo. So that's now our major weakness if we were to have a leadership. Yesterday they were asked, what next? Now, people were satisfied with their answer, but walijichanganya. It comes across now, it's like we just want the country ibomoke. According to their answer, it was so opaque. We don't have a specific of what we want. What next? Tunataka parliament iende, but the constitution is against that. What next? Tunataka sijui speaker, kila mtu aende. Like you see, if you come to the constitution, it has procedure. If wangesema kitu kama what next? Tunataka Ruto and Kajakwa watoke, then the speaker take over for the 60 days. Like hiyo ndio what next? According to the constitution, ina make sense. But wezi ambia what next, tunataka Ruto dissolve parliament. The constitution impay your power. We are a parliamentary system and not a presidential system. So that it came across as like we just want everything iharibike na tutaki kujua penye kutaenda. But if we had a resolve na tuseme ya kwamba this is what next, because at the end of the day, kulingana na constitution at the moment, tunasema we are going to have the perfect person we anaenda ku have next. So kama what next ni speaker, tusimame hapo tuseme kwamba what next is that Ruto ana resign, the speaker takes over, he leads us for the next 60 days. He may not be the best, he may not be our favorite person, but that's what the constitution does, and that ensures that the country is stable. It ensures all the business owners that after Ruto ameshatoka, we are going to remain stable. It ensures that every other person that after huyu ametoka na huyu ametoka, we are still going to have a leadership. But mkisema kila mtu atoka aende, okay, inji inabaki wapi? So inafanya like tukae ni kama tuko confused. Alafu another thing yenye nilikuwa kuongezea ni why was the first and the second demos so successful? There are so many theories and so many things that have been said. But kuna kitu yenye mwenye ametoka kuongea sahi Japich amesema that institutions were supporting us. You remember we had medics for Kenya, we had the young lawyers coming through. Wanakuambia wewe enda ukishikwa nipigie hii namba. There was a time when Njeru would even post, ukishikwa call me, nitakuja kusaidia. So unaenda street ukijua I am covered. Unaenda street ukijua nikipigwa tear gas na nitaenda wameweka camp mahali. What has changed? Say either kama bado wana support ama watu support huwezi jua, but hawaisemi publicly to give us the confidence. Like last time tukienda hata sijui kama kulikuwa na medical camp mahali, so like wewe unaenda tu but ni kama either you are alone or hauko. So what made the demo successful was because venye Japiki amesema all the institutions seems to support everything they were in, but at the moment maybe wametishiwa nini, wanaona kama watakuja kushikwa, so they can't loudly come out and support the same in a moral kiasi. So I think we need to, if you are in, we sema you are in, although kuna consequences. Alafu weak link yenye imetokea last demonstration, though I was happy with guys from Kakamega and guys from Kericho. Hao maguns wanapewa vijiti wakuja tupige kwa street. So Kakamega waliamua, walipindua, wakawapiga na wakawanyang'anya hizo vijiti na whatever. Pia Kericho happened so unaamka unapata, but again wa Nairobi they are justified in a way, at least like wana protect their business because of what happened, but wa huku mtaani wanataka isiendelee ni mpafu. Unaona wanatoka kwa county wakikuja kuwapiga kwa street. So we have to find a way to deal with such guys, like kama tumejua wameshawekwa, tusiwaogope, tunaenda tunawaface, because we are fighting for a common goal as a country in that. Alafu ya mwisho kabisa na yenye namaliza nayo, tukuwe na specifics. I think I'm still supporting what the teacher said. Specifics na mara yenye nimepeana example ni tuseme specific yetu ni kwamba Ruto and Gachagua wanaenda home, tunabaki na speaker tuongoze for the next 60 days. In the 60 days tuta set up IEBC. Kama IEBC iwezi kuset up, I think kuna JCC or something. That I know there is a way, our constitution inapea JCC, maybe they can set an interim body to run the election. Hapo tumekuwa specific. Specific ingine ni finance bill ili succeed because kila mtu alikuwa naifeel. Ruto must go as the main, it still remains our main goal, but some other people may not come through because kuna wenye wanamsupport automatically. But assuming tuseme specific next unaenda kupush ni watoe ID from 1000 to kitu kama 500 or 250 shillings, na pia watoe the expiry date. Like hiyo ni specific. Naona hiyo inatouch kila Mkenya, whether uko side ya Ruto ama hauko. Specific ingine tuseme tunaenda ku government to pay way forward juu ukiapply passport ama hizo IDs na kaa 1 year kama hujapata. So specific number 2, you are going to ensure that the government gives us an assurity that they are fast tracking the IDs. Hiyo ni specific yenye inaguza kila mtu. Specific ingine ni kama umeona hiyo list ya PS heads, like wote tu ni Kipkorir, Serore, sijui nini. So kuna ukabila hapo mpaka imekuwa title ya Kalenzination of something, yani Kalenjin organization and whatever. So teme, what next is that we are going to ensure that yes watakuwa, but hiyo list ipunguzwe. It has a face of the country. Or niliangalia wako around 35 out of the 81 notable parastatals wako 35. Then the Kikuyus are around 15, Luyas are around 10, ikiteremka hivyo. So tuende tuseme kwamba wapunguze from 35 to kitu kama 15. At least hiyo inatouch kila msee. But tukienda na hii yenye tunaenda tuna kitu moja yenye unajua like I let him in every other person, it makes us look like atupati hiyo support enough. So that's my contribution. On the leadership thing ni tuhakikishe kama tunaenda kuchagua MC, we are behind him. Jamaa akishikwa sisi wote tunaenda police post. Jamaa akishikwa sisi wote tuko pale Kiambu. Like that's what it can give the people to come out waseme kwamba I am willing to lead this team. I think niyo tu niko na.
All right. Thank you, Mbogo. Appreciate that. Ask Ochi. George Ouko.
Thank you, Kibe. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so I was listening in the morning. I dropped off, then I'm back. So I had a submission. For me, I think as a young person, I would like to echo what someone said, that as we go to the streets, we should always have like, what are we going for today? Like, what are we going to address today? Because again, if you don't get to focus, it will be meaningless. I feel like you see how like the first week we went, it was the finance bill. We wanted the cabinet out, and that was delivered. Like, I feel like every time we go to the streets, we should always have a theme. Yes, the overall theme is like changing the system, but now as we're changing the system, what are we addressing point by point? I think that way it will get to sense. Then secondly, I'd also feel like as we continue with this fight, let us not let people hijack our fight. Um, the other day I saw Oburu Odinga coming out and trying to advise the young people to listen to the elders, and I'm just like, him as an elder, what has he done for us as a country all these years? What can someone sit down and point and say that Oburu Odinga did this and this and this and achieved it for us? And I feel like this narrative of elders are one of the things that have been pulling us back for many years. And I can remember when even Sifuna and Mugatana were fighting on TV at a certain time, whereby Sifuna was highlighting something and Mugatana was like, oh, you have to respect the elders. And these same elders have been shitting on our face all these years, And I'm just like, we shouldn't let them hijack our fight, in the name at they are seniors, they can advise us, or even these politicians, we should not let them hijack us. And I love the way we said it even to Raila's face, we don't want a dialogue. And it should be purely our fight, and we should keep it ours until we achieve what we want. And that is rectifying the system that we have. Yes. So I think for me, those would be just my submissions. And thirdly, I think the conversations that have been coming recently, and people are just worried that what if we end up like now getting the president out? Which way will we want him out? And for me, I honestly wouldn't want it to go the military way. I just want us to pressure him, either to pressure him to the point that he gets the system working. And if we can't pressure him to that point, then we should pressure him to the point that he resigns. Then we have either the speaker taking over and the IBC working us to the point of getting maybe a new president. But the conversation of like pressuring him maybe to the point of the military taking over, I don't think if that will be a wise way, if that will be wise for us as a country. I think we should keep the pressure to the point that it checks the government, and all we'll get in return is accountability. I think that it would have achieved its goal. Yes. Thank you so much. That will just be my contribution.
All right. Thank you, George Oko. Every time I want to leave, I see somebody who makes me stay. Angeline Cadeo, what's up? I'm hoping she's one of those ones who have that English, that English of nose. Angeline, are you there? We're going to miss English of nose, my guy.
Ni kama una bahati Kimbe leo.
Hey, sasa tumemiss English of nose. Angeline! Now I have to resign myself to listening to Chege. God damn. So Chege, what do you want to say before I kill myself?
Are you killing yourself?
Yeah, what do you want to say before I kill myself? Angeline said no.
Umenikumbusha ile nini video ya ule msi alikuwa anataka I hate this life. How are you Kimbe today? Jana tulikuwa na monologue mzuri, alafu tulikuwa tunaangalia vile hawa vijana wako na gains. Then hey manze, to me I'll be honest, it got to me. So today I was staying
staying away from mambo ya mental health, lakini nimeingia hapa napata bado watu wamejam, which is not bad, but mi nataka tu kuambia watu hapa, remember to take care of yourselves because hii horror ambayo ina unfold kwa screen zetu, it can get to you. Nimeona hapo umeweka the Lulu Nation Wednesday. Sijui hizi sarakasi zitaisha lini, lakini I liked what you've pinned hapo kwa Jumbotron. Yeah, one day my country people shall invest in factories and innovations as much as we invest in churches. I cannot agree more. This is a fight to take back sanity, take back, to inject, to sanitize, to inject morals into leadership. And I think let's not forget that. Let's remember to take care of each other. Sometimes anger can consume us beyond, and we need to be careful about that. So what I love about you keeping these spaces open is that at least Kenyans are talking. And while when we are talking, we mobilize, but we also heal, because at least kuna exit. Pressure cooker ukiweka bila kunini kuinua kale ka kitu ka pressure, watu watalipuka. So usijiue bro. Angelique sijui ameenda wapi, hata mimi nilikuwa nataka kusikia off nose, lakini ni hayo tu, sikuwa na mengi. Salamu tu za leo.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate that. Hata nimekuwa hapa 6 hours 28 minutes. Nimejaribu sana mno. Appreciate that. Yeah, today we've had some good discussions. Conclusion to the discussion is that each person will play their part. That's all.
Disagree. Kibe. Ni kama network yangu iko na hiyo.
What's going on here? George Oko, what do you want to say before I leave?
I think I was still going through my feed on Twitter, and I came across this post, sijui kama umeiona, whereby some people in Eldoret wanaanza endorse that Nani should come back, and it was a Murkomen. And then there's this rumors that there's a portion of, a section of some cabinet secretary should come back. And I don't know whether it's a national problem or there's a group of people who tend to forget so fast as a country. But it would be so stupid for us as a country to allow these people to take us back to where we were. Like, they're taking us a step behind. And I don't know whether, like, and I was discussing this with someone the other day. I don't know whether as a country, like, we tend to forget so fast, or we still have that challenge of poverty whereby these people can just pick a section of poor people, in the society, how they can pay goons to come and beat people because they're poor, they don't have that money. And even the people pushing this narrative, will they say that they're just poor enough to just accept the tokens and push a narrative for the government? Are they ignorant enough to do that? We just tend to forget so fast as a country. I don't know how we can address this.
George. Can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear
just
you.
mute your mic for a second. Let me explain this to you. What you guys don't seem to understand here, and this is to all you people who are waking up now, is that this is your awakening. This is when you are waking up to the reality that has been. So there's no new reality. This is just what has been. So you guys are waking up now and you're wondering, these guys are going to take 200 bob and sit there and listen to this person? So what these guys are doing, these guys who feel threatened, right now they're going back to their constituency and they're flexing with their constituency. Remember, you, George, are nowhere. You had not been counted as a part of any constituency. So nobody's coming to flex to you. But right now, this guy is going to his constituency and telling everybody else, hey, listen, my constituency still loves me. You can see them here. You can see them chilling with me. So you, as the person who's demanding all this, you're demanding it from somebody who does not owe allegiance to you. So I told you, the first big thing that we must do is we must group ourselves into a constituency. where that constituency has strength. Hiyo constituency ikiingia mahali haingii peke yake, vile Raila uingia. Raila haingiangi mahali peke yake. Akiingia yu ingia, people know he can vuruga anytime. Kasirisha Raila kidogo tu hivi. He'll bring this town to a standstill. So when they're making decisions, they have to think of Raila. Do you think Raila will like that? Boom, pigia. Raila anapigiwa simu. Hey, unasema nini? Unasema nini? Umeweka 2 bilioni, umeweka 2 bilioni. Umeweka 2 bilioni kwa account. Wacha niangalie kwa account. Mama Aida, hebu leta ile checkbook niangalie kwa account. Unacheza ni. Anyway, tumalize story. Cheke, maliza story haraka haraka. Todhiete. Ile checkbook leta checkbook haraka niangalie kama hiyo 2 bilioni imeingia. 2 bilioni la kesho unachukua 10,000 unapatia vijana ya Kibera. Naambia itulize isiingie kwa town. Alafu tutafanya press statement around 1 o'clock. Naambia watu, hey, the country is bigger than all of us. We must learn how to work together. Tuwezi kuwa tunapigana kila wakati tunapigana. We have jingle.
Yes, unajua hiyo story ya churches, 100% of the constituency kwa churches. Leo niliona jana vijana wale walikuwa Baringo. Can you hear me, Kibe?
Mbona unajishuku bro? Si uendelee.
Sawa. Wale vijana walikuwa Baringo kwenda kuagitate kwa governor, walienda wakakosa governor, wamevunja gate, wameingia wamekosa governor. Wakatoka juu wakapata bishop fulani alikuwa sijui na shughuli gani, wakamchukua wakamwambia tuombe. They forced the guy to pray for them. So some comedy that is unleashed is being unleashed is interesting. Saa zingine vitu zinakosa mwelekeo, but walituambia they are leaderless, which we somehow support kwa sababu wangetekwa nyara, but let's rethink. Kuna vitu za kuongelelewa. Sawa Kibe. Thanks for the space, man.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me for such a long time today. We've been here for a minute. Everybody who's been signed in and signed up, thank you. Appreciate it. All the whatever that has transpired between us is what it is. There's nothing else I can say at Malize with that big punch. It's not there today. No, there's no big punch. It's just the reality. The reality of the matter today is we are exactly where we are because of how we think. That's it. See you tomorrow.
This is The Morning Show with Andrew Kibe. Every Monday to Friday, only on AndrewKibeRadio.live.
Wake your punk ass up.